built an AI agent on Claude Code to stalk my competitors' YouTube channels and find patterns in hooks, structure, and other stuff that I can copy. I'm going to show you how to build this for yourself or to sell to other businesses or content creators. So I've basically set it up around my content system, which is hosted on Airtable. So this is where I like plan all the videos I'm going to put out, etc. And over here, I have this one table that just stores competitors. So you probably know Nate Hark as one of the biggest AI creators on YouTube. Tai Chen, another AI creator, build great products, another AI guy. And then essentially I can fill up this table with competitors. And I don't have to put in all their details like the YouTube channel ID. All I have to do is create a new competitor, adding a record down here, and then I'll just add a channel name. So I'll go ahead and add like Joran Wouters. I know he's another AI guy out there, and I'll put that in, and then it will come in and fill in the rest of this YouTube channel's data and for us to do the research to find the person. After it has done that, it will then go off and do the actual research into like posts that are trending or are high performing from those creators. These creators are inside here. And then it would essentially analyze the posts by going into the transcript. It will scrape the transcript from the video, and then it will analyze those transcripts to find like the hook patterns. And by hook, I mean like what they say in the first 30 seconds of their videos. So this will then be able to go in those transcripts and find those patterns so that I can copy those and use them and just remix them and use them in my own content. And you can see it outputs the pattern as like a framework instead of just like outputting exactly what they said. And so you can essentially use these frameworks that it creates to create better content that is essentially stemmed on stuff that you already know works because it comes from bigger creators. And then lastly, there's also the video structures as well, which is very similar to the hook patterns, except now it's video structures. Like it shows you the actual structures of the videos that people are putting out. And yeah, that's how it works. So you can see this is actually filling up right now because it's currently running in Claude. So I'm over here in Claude Code, and I know this might look a little foreign to you if you haven't used it before, but you can kind of see that it's currently running this process, and that's why you saw it was spitting out a few things when we were just inside Airtable. But let's go ahead and build it step by step. Now the first thing you need to understand before we get building is the exact structure that this agent uses to do its work. So essentially it follows a workflow that's very similar to this. Essentially it starts with the input where it reads the competitors' channels, which is from that table and inside Airtable, which contains details about the channels who are our competitors. Then it researches those channels and finds relevant videos and puts those kind of like in a basket. Now with that basket, it then goes and fetches a transcript of each video from that basket. And then we move into like the super brainy and intelligent part of the system where the AI actually comes in and it analyzes all these transcripts and the patterns. It finds patterns in the hooks, in the structures, etc. But then after it has discovered the patterns, it literally just outputs those discoveries into Airtable, and then the whole process repeats. And by the way, I set up mine to run on a cron schedule, which basically means it runs at like 7 a.m. every single morning. But you can set up yours to run differently, and I'll talk about that later in this video. You want to start by coming into your Claude account and just make sure that you're on a pro account so that you have access to Claude Code. And to make this build easier, we'll essentially start by first connecting to Airtable using the MCP over here, which will allow Claude Code to look into our Airtable account while it's building, and it will make the build process a little faster. Now, if your content creation process is stored on a different platform like Notion or Google Sheets, there's also the provision to do that over here. So you can just go ahead and follow these steps as well. Just look out for your software instead. So start by coming into the side panel over here and then head into your settings, your account settings. And once you're inside there, you want to scroll all the way down to connectors and you want to click on that. And then all you want to do at this point is add connectors. So select add, browse connectors, and go ahead and add the exact app where your content creation process is hosted. So if it's Notion, you can just go ahead and search for Notion, and you should be able to add it here. If it's Miro, you should be able to add that as well. So you can see I already have a few added, including Airtable, and just go through the process of connecting it to your actual account on that platform. Once that's done, we want to head into Visual Studio Code. Alright, so I'm out here in a new VS Code window, and essentially if you're new to this whole thing of coding with Claude Code inside VS Code, all you have to do is search up Visual Studio Code, download it to your actual device, and then head over into extensions over here and install the Claude Code extension for VS Code, and then go ahead and log in with your Claude account, and you should now be able to build stuff inside VS Code with Claude Code. It's super easy. Once you've done that, start by opening a new Claude Code session. Over here, you should see the Claude icon somewhere So just go ahead and click it and open a new session, and you should get this page over here. But then head back into files, and we want to essentially open a folder on our device where we shall store the project files. Now just head into your device and find like a suitable place to put the files for this project, and then create a folder. So I've just created YouTube Stalker 2.0 because I've already built the first version of YouTube Stalker, and we're just going to rebuild it in this tutorial. Once you have that file set up, just come in here, open folder, and you should be able to just find it on your device. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And once you find it, just click on it and then select open. And it should essentially open that over here. You'll see there'll be no files on the side because obviously it's empty. And I'll actually go ahead and open the Claude Code window over here and close this one over here. So now we can begin coding. Now the first thing you have to do is just download the claude.md file that we'll be using in this build. This basically contains like the instructions for how your AI agent should set up its space so that it works efficiently and like it keeps everything organized. Just start by heading into the link in the description, download it to your device, and then copy it into the actual folder that you've just created for the project. After doing that, when you come back into VS Code, you should see it here on the left panel, and I'll just click into it so you can just get an indication of what's inside. Now it's a markdown file, which means it's basically written in natural language, meaning you can fully understand everything in here, at least most stuff in here. But yeah, you can read through it if you really want to gain an understanding of how it organizes your project. The one part that I will explain is this part over here, the agent architecture. It follows the WAT framework, W-A-T, which I actually came to learn of from Nate Huck. Now, WAT basically stands for Workflows Agent Tools, and it's basically how agents operate. So essentially, we have the actual agent, which is actually the like AI, the brains. It's the one that makes the decisions. And then we have workflows and tools. Now, workflows are basically like plain language SOPs, like instructions for how to do certain tasks. So start by doing X, then do Y, then do Z. Tools are essentially Python scripts that go ahead and actually do very specific tasks inside workflows. So for example, like I said, a workflow might have start by doing task X and then do task Y, do task Z to accomplish this goal. But then task X might involve actually executing a tool such as fetching data from a website or using an API, etc. So I'll go ahead and close that, and then we can actually start coding. The first thing you want to do is change auto into plan. Now what this will do is it will change the build mode of Claude Code right now to first plan the project out before we start building anything. Once you've done that, we can start talking to it and telling it about exactly what we're trying to build, and then it will go off and start formulating a plan that we can confirm. So there's a couple things you want to talk about. Number one, you want to talk about the purpose of this agent. You want to talk about the platform that's going to the host platform where you keep your content and plan your content. So mine is Airtable. Yours might be different. You also want to talk about exactly what you want to get out of the transcripts it's gonna fetch, the videos it's gonna look at. So if you're looking for titles, video title patterns, if you're looking for hook patterns, if you're looking for areas to figure out where people are putting the CTA in their videos, if you're looking for structures, you just need to tell it that. And then you also need to tell it how it's gonna fetch. And in this build, we shall be using Apify. So go ahead and tell it to use Apify to do the fetching of transcripts of videos. And you kind of want to tell it exactly how you want it to store stuff, the exact information you want it to output. So I want you to go out and essentially build an AI agent that will stalk my competitors' YouTube channels, and it will be able to find out what they are doing in terms of structure, the hooks they're using in the first like 30 seconds of their videos, and the exact title formats they're using, etc. So I want you to focus on the patterns. Don't focus on extracting individual things from videos, but I want you to consider videos against each other and essentially research these videos and look at the patterns between them. And for example, after researching 30 videos, output only 5 patterns that clearly show consistencies between these two, between all the videos that have been considered in your research. I shall be using Airtable to essentially, that's where I store my content and everything content related. So you will create a couple of tables in there. One will contain the competitors, and that's where you will draw information from about which competitors to research. And then the other one will contain the actual stuff you've researched, so like the patterns and the hook structures, etc. So that's the plan. And then I'll also be using Apify to scrape the transcripts out of YouTube videos. So yeah, help me plan out this project. And also use the Claude.md file to help you get an understanding of the structure that we shall be using. Now it's going to go off and do a bit of planning, and then it will come back and probably ask a few questions before it proceeds. And yeah, that's also something I forgot to mention. A quick hack, a quick tip for you is tell Claude to ask you questions as you're building, because it will help you kind of clarify what it is going to build, and will essentially save you from coming into the project like later because you need to correct something or add a feature that you forgot to add. So just get Claude to talk to you and ask you questions about what you're building, just to clarify things before it goes off. All right, so you can see my questions have finally come in, and it's now starting to ask me to clarify a few things. And something funny just happened as well. Like it noticed that this is YouTube Stalker 2.0 and went into my files and found YouTube Stalker the original and started like analyzing it, trying to get inspiration from that. Anyways, I told it not to do that, just that we're on the same page. Essentially, I'll go ahead and answer these questions. So where should the Airtable tables live? I'll say a new dedicated base. And then I'll also say when the agent distills 5 patterns, should they describe one competitor at a time or the whole field? So I'll go ahead and just say per competitor, that's fine. And then which of the competitors' video should form the 30 video corpus? And I'll just say top performers and outliers essentially. And what else? Which pattern dimension should the agent produce? So I want patterns in video structures, opening hooks, and let's go with title formats as well. So Claude has finished planning on my side, and basically it's generated the plan over here on the right, which has a lot of text, a lot of words, and I'm honestly not going to read through all of it right now. But essentially what you want to do is kind of just scan across it and make sure that everything is right, pick up on any errors or mistakes or weird ways of doing it that you might want to do differently before it goes out and builds. But if everything is fine, which for me it seems fine, I'll just go ahead and yes and auto accept this. Then I'll go ahead and actually change this over here to auto, and what that means is that Claude will just go ahead and automatically build it without waiting on me for any input or permissions. Essentially, usually as Claude builds, it perhaps asks for permissions to execute specific pieces of code and all of that, and I like to set it to auto so that I can just go ahead and do whatever else I need to do on my device, and catch up with some other work while I wait for it to build the entire thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and leave it to do that right now, and we'll come back and check on it later. I'm currently editing and I realized that there's this weird knocking sound in the next few clips in this video, so just letting you know, really sorry about that. I think there was some construction going on at my house yesterday when I recorded, but yeah, just so you know that it's in the video and it's not in your actual place. So you can see the files are all set up here on the left panel. If I go into workflows, you can see the different workflows in here, and you can see the different tools that it has created as well. So it has created quite a few tools, and essentially now what we can do is we can actually go ahead and read the document in the markdown files in the workflows, just to understand exactly how it does its work. But yeah, I won't do that. Essentially what we will move on to next is inputting your API keys into the environment file so that it can actually now connect to Airtable and Apify. On this left panel over here is a .environment file. When you click into it, you can see there's a couple of places you can put in your API keys essentially. So we're going to be putting in our Airtable API key up here, the Apify one over here, and then we'll go ahead and put the channel videos actor and the Apify transcript actor over here. But actually I'll just tell it to do research and find the correct actors to use and then fill those in itself, so we won't have to do this. Please do research and find a suitable channel videos actor and transcript actor for Apify so that I don't have to put in the IDs myself. In the meantime, while it runs that, let's go ahead and get the keys. Let's start with Apify. Head over into apify.com and create an account if you don't already have one, but I do already have one, so it should log me in. Once you're in, essentially you just want to head into your account settings over here in this left panel, and then once you're there, you can head into API and integrations, and you should get your API key up here, the default API token created on sign up. Just go ahead and copy this over here, paste it right here where it's supposed to go in this folder, and then we'll do the same for the Airtable API key as well. If you're using a different platform, just search up how to get my API key for the platform, so how to get my API key for Notion, and Gemini should be able to walk you through that, or just ask Claude Code as well, or search it up on YouTube, and you should be able to get your API key pretty quickly. But I'll actually go into my account here in Airtable, and I'll go into like the bottom left corner, and you should see build a hub as one of these things you can click on, and when you're inside that, you can essentially create a new personal access token. So I'll go ahead and create a new token over here. I'll give it a name and then just give it access to all resources inside your Airtable account, and give it all the scopes as well. Go ahead and paste in your Airtable API key as well, or whichever platform you're using, and then you can then go ahead and save this, Command S, Control S, whatever you need to do, and then close this over here, and then just come in here and tell it I'm done. Let's move into testing now. I can see it's asking which competitor channel should it test on, since there's nothing in Airtable right now. So let me just say I'll go into Airtable and add some rows right now, and then it should also it asks how big the first run should be, so I just go ahead and say a smoke test first. And now I head into Airtable and actually add a few competitor channels that I wanted to look at. So I'm inside here, YouTube Stalk Code 2.0, and I'll just go ahead and add Natak once again as a channel name, and I'll also add like Liam Otley. I'll just add those two for now, and then I'll go ahead and tell Claude to go ahead and run it. Now, just to show you the importance of running this locally before you like publish it to the cloud, you can see that first of all, it has picked up on an error, kind of mistake, something to do with the word split unquoted variables. I'm not exactly sure what that means, honestly, but that's to just show you that what it builds first time might not be 100% correct, and so it's really important that you first run it on your device while Claude Code is still available as an agent to come in and fix things. So essentially it's fixing as it goes along and picking up on errors. But when you deploy it to the cloud and you connect like an API key to your whichever service provider you're using, it no longer has that coding ability to go in and fix areas of the code as it moves along. So if it encounters an error, it will literally just stop, or it will just walk ahead in the wrong way, which is not good. So yeah, just make sure you test this, especially a lot if you're going to deploy it to the cloud. But the reason I like running it locally on Claude Code is that whenever I run it here locally, the coding agent will be available as it's running to come in and fix broken areas of the code, which will just result in better outputs. And coming into Airtable, you'll see that it has literally gone in and filled all these other details about the channel, Natak and Liam Watley's channel. It hasn't done these over here, but I think these are kind of irrelevant, and I don't know how it's going to get the median views or the corpus size. So yeah, I'll have to ask it how it's going to do that. But in terms of the channel URL, handle, ID, status, subscriber count, it's done those. And soon enough, it should begin outputting stuff into these other two tables. But I'll actually go ahead and create a new view, which is why I love Airtable. You can create different views, and I'll just create a gallery view so that I can kind of see things as cards. And I'll do that for actually both of these over here. So let me go ahead and make a gallery view here as well. And I can see the first 3 videos have popped into my Airtable, and I can also see the first pattern that it has detected has showed up. And I can see the first template is claim a result in square brackets, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to, and then you say what you're going to show them how to do. If I look into this video over here, I can see he started with, right now I've got all these different Claude Code tabs running completely for free, because right here you can see the model I'm running is in cloud, it's Stealth OS Alpha. Blah blah blah, and then so today I'm going to show you guys how you can set this up. So it's literally the exact same format that the pattern shows. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and I'll go ahead and close that, and that just proves that it works. So now we can actually start running it in production and using it every single day. I'm also going to go and tell mine to run every single morning at 7 a.m. And you can do the same for yours by literally just telling Claude Code to do it for you, but that will run it locally on your machine. But there's a couple ways that you can customize this system over here to make it fit the person you're building it for or yourself. And the first way is basically you can choose where your content and data live. Like I said, I chose Airtable because that's where I plan my content from, but I know a lot of people use Notion and Google Sheets as well, so you can customize it to make it fit there, but just be aware you have to put the API keys for Notion and Google Sheets, so you need to just connect it appropriately, which it can walk you through if you just tell it that's what you're trying to do. The second way to customize this is where you deploy it. You can deploy it to the cloud, which is actually what I would recommend, but you do have to take a few extra steps, like connecting this to a Git repo, basically copying those files that are on your VS Code onto like a cloud server so that the agent can use them. But right now mine is actually running locally, but the problems with that is that you do need to make sure that your laptop is on, your device is on at the time that it's supposed to run. So 7 a.m. every single morning my laptop has to be on and awake, not asleep, otherwise it just won't be able to run. Or you could just run it manually if you choose to, so it's really up to you. But yeah, just to show you the differences between cloud, local and manual, and the different advantages for all of them. So runs without you, cloud always runs without you, but local only runs without you when the machine is on, when your laptop is on, and of course manual won't do that. Monthly cost when you're not connected to the cloud, when you're not using an API key, is actually carried by your cloud subscription. So you basically just have to make sure you don't surpass your limits, but you can decide to use an API connection instead to Claude's AI providers or any other LLM providers on all the options if you choose to do that instead. You just have to be aware of the cost, and you do need that for cloud. that one is a must. The setup effort, cloud is slightly higher. I wouldn't say crazy high, but it's the highest of all these three. Local is medium, and then manual is the lowest, because you literally just build it like we did, and you don't set up any cron schedules, none of that. You literally just come in whenever you want to use it and tell it. But yeah, I guess the usage effort is then flipped around when it comes to actually using this automation and system in a business. You'll find that using it manually has the highest effort, and using it while it's on the cloud has the lowest effort. And yeah, you can also control how often your system searches for content. So mine is set to search every single day at 7 a.m. on Monday, but you can set yours to search hourly, daily, weekly. You just have to be aware that that has a run-up cost on your tokens and your credits on Apify as well, if you scrape too much data, essentially. So yeah, the more you do run it, of course, obviously the more it will cost you in the long run. You can also change what it's analyzing for when it looks at videos. So right now mine is looking at the hooks, the structure, but you can get yours to look at the language, where the CTAs are placed throughout the video, the cut rhythm, the tone of the video, etc. So there's a lot you can get it to look at by looking at the transcript. And it's basically up to you to decide what's most valuable for your business, or for the business or content creator that you're building this for, and then build it accordingly. And yeah, you can also mess around with the source. I picked YouTube because that's where I produce content, but you can look at other things like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Reddit, podcasts, whatever. Essentially, this system is basically the same. You just connect it to a different Apify scraper that scrapes posts, content, videos, images from those platforms instead, and then basically goes about the same analytical process of breaking them down into structures, formats, and stuff that you can copy, and then storing them in a destination where you can come back to them easily while you're creating your content. So yeah, who is this useful for? Like I said, creators. This is useful for people who are creating content already and just don't have the time to be doing research and don't want to hire people to do the research for them. And this is also useful for like teams, agencies, and actual businesses who are making content as well, but don't have the time, once again, to hire like a strategist, or don't have the money to hire a strategist to do research for them every single time. So this is when this becomes extremely important and useful for such people. And so yeah, so here's an overview of the entire workflow. Once again, the data, having a data source, and then like searching for transcripts and videos, and then AI analysis, and then storing it somewhere, outputting it somewhere. So you can see down here are just a bunch of different example components that you can swap around to get different combinations depending on what your workflow is. So you might decide to scrape from Instagram using Apify, analyze using GPT, store that in Google Sheets, and then output a message in Slack to tell you that data has come in, etc. So it's really about how you want to build your system. Now, I'd recommend that you watch this video up here, which explains what webhooks are, because it will kind of give you a better picture on how to connect these different software to each other, even if there's no like native connection between the two of them.